There's a concept that's very important to role-playing games, and that's failing forward. When a dice roll fails, it's important that it doesn't inhibit the progression of the story. So how do you turn failed outcomes, failed dice rolls, into role-playing success, moving the story forward regardless of the outcome of the die? Now, I'm not saying that the outcome of the die doesn't matter. What I'm saying is whether the outcome fails or succeeds, the story still needs to move forward. I'm Wolf, and welcome to Dire Den. This is where we talk about D&D and RPGs, and today we're focused on failing forward. How do you flex those creative muscles to make a failure move the story forward just as well as a success? So for the purpose of this video, I've picked out the 5 most common ways that I've seen stories get stymied. Locked doors, perception checks, social encounters, investigation checks, and alignment. During the first season of Critical Role, locked doors were such an issue, it became an ongoing joke. Now, the problem with locked doors is that sometimes that's the only way to get to where the players need to go. Now, usually, if you're designing your adventures, you're probably smart enough that there's more than one way to get from point A to point B. However, if you're running pre-made adventures, that's not always the case. So sometimes a locked door can really stymie the gameplay, while players try over and over again to open the door. Now, if there's no time pressure, then there shouldn't be a roll. If there's no time pressure and the players have a limited amount of time to unlock this door, just describe how they unlock the door, because, there's a rogue in the party usually who is skilled in such things. They shouldn't even have to roll if they have unlimited time. However, if there's time pressure, the guards are coming or the orcs are rounding the corner, you only have a few seconds to get this door open. Roll the dice now. Now, when they get a failed check, do you just let everything devolve into combat? Maybe, but you could use one of these examples instead. You manage to unlock the door, but you get your thieves' tools jammed in there real good, so now the lock is jammed tight. So you can get through the door. However, anybody who comes behind you is going to realize that the door has been tampered with. You want to break the lock? Okay, roll your strength check. Wow. Not a great roll. You pound on the lock and you manage to break it, but you hit it harder than you meant to and you crack the door frame. So yeah, people are going to notice. You're having trouble getting the door open and you force it because you're in a hurry and the door unlocks. But unfortunately, as you do, the force slams the door against the wall. It's loud. They probably know you're here. So as you can see in all those examples, the players got through the door, but there was a consequence. Not the consequence of failure, of absolute end of stealth mission kind of failure. Either they're stuck and they can't get through the door at all, or the guards are on top of them, there's now combat, and any chance you had of sneaking about is now ruined. Instead, there's a consequence that drives up the tension. The tension goes up because now the players don't know if the guards know they're here. They could, or they couldn't. There's not a definite answer. So the players continue to press on sneakily, hoping that no one comes behind them and sees the consequence of their failure. Next is perception checks. And with perception checks, the player automatically has some metagame knowledge that they just failed the roll. So essentially what you do is the player is told to roll the dice and then they fail. So the character doesn't know what they just failed, but the player does. So you can use that metagame knowledge that the player has and impart partial knowledge to the character, thereby failing forward. Here are some examples. You hear something in the alleyway. Whatever it was, it vanished quickly. You missed it. You don't know what it was, but someone or something was spying on you. You just have that feeling crawling up your spine. We were being watched. Your hand slides across the wall and there's just enough pressure that something gives way. You found a secret door. It swings open and you stumble forward and your foot lands on a pressure plate. Give me a dexterity saving throw. So in that case, the player finds the hidden door and moves the story forward, but they take damage from the trap. As long as the trap's not too, ridiculous, it's just a small consequence of failing their check, they still move the story forward by moving through the door. You sneak up to the door of the room and you listen in. You can't tell exactly what everyone is talking about, but you do notice that two of the wizards have the exact same tattoos on their neck. They seem to be a part of the same guild, maybe cult. You're not sure. Now, in that last example, the player didn't get the information they wanted, but they still got some information. They still got something to go on. They got a clue that these two wizards are part of some sort of organization. They don't know what they're planning or what they're up to, but they have a lead that can move the story forward. Now, as always, you can help out the channel by hitting the like and subscribe button and clicking the notification bell to make sure that you get to see all my latest videos. You can also check out the Wandering Tavern, which is a sponsor of this video. In fact, April is Wandering Tavern month in the Dire Den. It's clearly inspired by Studio Ghibli, filled with fantastic arcana punk flying ships and mysterious dark spirits that contrast the whimsy of this flight and fantasy setting. This expands on the successful Kickstarter they had last year called Sky Zephyrs. It not only includes the setting history, but battle maps, NPCs, plot hooks, magic items, and even setting-themed recipes. Explore this immense flying city with all its battle maps and details. Every nook and cranny delve deep into the devious underbelly of the tavern while getting to know its wide range of unique NPCs, patrons, and staff. The Wandering Tavern's dark mysteries and entangled truths are yours to unlock. Use the link in the description and the pinned comment below, so when you back this Kickstarter, you'll also support the Dire Den. Next up is charisma checks, and I largely just role play with my players and let them influence the NPCs by how well they do talking to me at the table as I act out those NPC roles. And a lot of the times, I want the NPCs to give the players useful information because I want the story to move forward. However, sometimes the players want to show off their high charisma check and roll the dice, and that doesn't always work out so well. So here are some examples of how to fail forward with social encounters. Well, that plan sounds ridiculous, but I'm in the mood for adventure, so I'll do it. But we're doing it my way. Here's how it's going to go down. I like you, but I don't trust you. I'll need to keep that fancy sword of yours for collateral. Your performance has offended the Duchess. We will not raise the bounty just because you think you deserve more. You either go on this quest out of the goodness of your heart, or you apologize to the Duchess right now. Next up is investigation checks. Similar to perception checks, the player is rolling the dice and the player knows they failed, but the character doesn't. So what you can do by failing forward, you give the character something, but not exactly what they were looking for. Well, you don't find a key, but you find something else that makes you think maybe you don't need a key. Well, you lose the goblin tracks in the swamp. You can't tell which way the goblins went, but you find a pair of harpies. Maybe they know something. As you search the wizard's laboratory, you don't find what you're looking for, but as you open one of the wizard's books, all of a sudden, you have a vision. So in each of those examples, the player didn't find what they wanted to find, but you move the story forward by giving them an alternative that still points them in the right direction. Now, our last example is dealing with alignment, and for lack of a better word, we're going to call it alignment violations. When a character violates what they say they believe in. Now, I'm a big believer that these alignment violations shouldn't be game mechanic based or class based. They should be role playing based or in story based consequences for violating one's faith or belief system. In fact, I think the best way to view alignment is like a religion, because oftentimes real world religions seem to contradict themselves and people need to seek advice on how to deal with this contradiction of their belief system and the real world as they encounter it. So just like the lawful part of your alignment might contradict the neutral part of your alignment, or the good part of your alignment might contradict the chaotic part of your alignment. These are not flaws in the design of alignment. These contradictions that often become the topic of online arguments are actually a system that allows you to create tension that drives a story forward. use the tension created by alignment as a plot device, not as a metagame argument. I also believe that Gary Gygax thought of alignment like religion, and that's why alignment, when he originally designed it for Dungeons & Dragons, had languages. There was a different language for each of the different alignments. And from what I understand, that was to represent how religions in the real world had distinct languages that their scriptures were written in, and therefore people of particular faith would learn particular languages. Just like Catholics would learn Latin or Jews would learn Hebrew, Dungeons & Dragons had alignment languages. So again, the best way to look at alignment is like a religion. If someone does something that's against their religion, against their belief system, or against their faith, they have to atone in some way. They have to restore their relationship. So for example, you might have to restore a relationship with another party member. So the druid might tell the wizard they're not going to use their magic to heal them anymore until the wizard proves to the druid that he has atoned for his offense. Or a paladin who's broken her oath might have to go face some unspeakable evil and outwit that evil in order to retrieve a powerful artifact and return it to their temple in order to restore their relationship to that temple and therefore restore their oath. Likewise, a cleric might have to restore their relationship to their deity by ridding a town of an evil undead influence. You can even take an apparent alignment violation and ask the player what kind of drama they want their character to roleplay as a result of this action they took that was not in line with how they normally play their character. So hopefully all of those examples were helpful. And in the comments below, let me know how you have practiced failing forward in your campaigns. And thanks again for visiting the Dire Den, and I'll see you next time. In the meantime, check out these videos, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Now's your chance to put Dire Den over the 5,000 mark.